Back on Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery and Locked On Sports Atlanta. Head to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta in the search browser, subscribe to our page there. 5-star review us because we are free and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. When you get that thing downloaded, hit that 5-star review. And then, of course, follow me on my Twitter page at JMCH316. So, out of all the different things that we saw on last Friday night, very much looking forward to seeing what the Falcons look like here coming up on Monday. And we'll break into more on Monday. Again, go through my points of what I'm looking for, what I'm hoping to see, this, that, and the other on Monday, right? But one thing I came out of the game with on last Friday, and I'm going to make a proclamation. Maybe it's a hot take, okay? Maybe I need to be on one of those shows like Get Woke, or Woke First or First Woke or whatever they got going on these, goofball morning shows, and Skip and Don and Phil and whoever else is on all this stuff, okay? But I'm going to make a proclamation. I've been wondering about this, but I think I have my answer now. Rashaan Evans is going to lead this team in tackles this year. Watching him play for a little bit, and I saw him at camp, physically he looks great. He looks the part and everything like that. He's going to lead this team in tackles this year. And watching him on last Friday night, flying around the field, moving all around. And Dean Pease brought up this comment about he didn't understand why Tennessee didn't pick up his fifth-year option, but he was glad that they didn't so that he could be here. And Dean Pease has done nothing but speak glowing about him. He looks the part. He does a lot of the things that they want. Physically, he fits more of the bill of what they hope for in a linebacker. 6'2", 230 plus pounds. He's not drastically bigger than Deion Jones, but when you see him, he's a big, thick dude. Okay. And if Deion Jones is or is not going to be here, and that's the other storyline about training camp, is can't really get our arms around what's going to happen with Deion Jones. He's not coming off the PUP list just yet. He's getting close, and he's working out and this, that, and the other, and he's doing a thing here, and he's walking around talking to the media and all this, that, and the other. Okay, we're, toward the end of, training camp and toward the end of preseason, and by the way, anybody who doesn't think he has something to prove, you're crazy. He's got a lot to prove to this coaching staff because he did not have a good year last year for this team. And a lot of questions about whether or not he will or will not be on this roster. Would they cut him? Would they trade him? What will they do in this, that, and the other? But Rashaan Evans, to me, I can see him having that Foye, Devondre Campbell type of year for the Falcons, where he has a big tackle number. He's running all over the field, right? And look, I don't know why either that Tennessee did not pick up his fifth-year option, because it's not like he's not, again, relatively speaking, he's been a pretty productive player. He's been over 100 tackles. Last year was a down year. He didn't play as much last year. 57 tackles. Didn't register a sack last year. He's not a guy who's going to sack the quarterback very much. He had 2.5 sacks one year and a half a sack the other year. I don't know what he can be here. Could he be a sack or two? Yeah, maybe. Maybe he can, add a sack or two here or there. But he looks like if he's healthy and ready to go and he can run around the field and do the things that Dean Pease wants, he could rack up a whole bunch of tackle numbers. And then from there, obviously it's, okay, what do you do with them, for the long term? I don't know. We'll have to see how that all works. But just having seen him in camp, watched him, looking at him in person, watching him last Friday night, there are not a lot of things that I feel like I'm 100% super confident in. I'm not super confident about who's going to lead at running back, and what Patterson's role is going to be. Not super confident about any of our wide receivers. I'm not super confident about how many more touchdowns that Kyle Pitts is going to produce this year. But I do feel pretty confident in the idea that Rashaan Evans has a chance to have a really big year for this Atlanta defense. And for a team that, look, this defense is obviously linebacker centric. And if Deion Jones doesn't fit the bill on some of the things that you want, being able to come up and take on some of those blockers and things like that. Again, if you see Rashaan Evans in person, he looks the part, right? And his measurables don't tell you that he's a lot bigger, right? He's only about 10 pounds heavier than Deion Jones, about an inch or so taller than he is. But when you see those two guys, you do see a difference. Deion Jones looks a lot like the same guy who came into the league when he first started with the Falcons. But Evans looks like a guy who has a chance to be very, very productive. And look, for a team that is devoid of talent, and that's another thing I have to laugh at too when people talk, they're devoid of talent, folks. There aren't a whole lot of difference-making game changers on this team, that you're looking for guys, maybe a change of scenery, maybe a different environment, coming with Dean Pease, right? Maybe all of that comes together. And Rashaan Evans, who, obviously, look, he was a first-round pick, right? First-round pick out of Alabama, comes from a great program, great pedigree, and things like that. He has had some success early on in the NFL. If he can be healthy, playing Dean Pease scheme, he fits right into the mold of what this team is looking for in its linebackers. He can get around, he can run, he can hit, he can do some things. Maybe he needs a little bit of, to work on his pass coverage a little bit, but okay, that's fine. Nobody's, perfect. We don't have Bobby Wagner here, so we don't have a perfect linebacker. But I think Evans is primed to lead this team in tackles. And I've been trying to figure this out, like who's going to replace Foye, who's going to replace Devondre Campbell, who's going to be that guy. And in most years, I would have told you Deion Jones will be the guy that leads this team in tackles. I don't think in this defense and in this scheme fit and things well, first off, the debate about whether or not he's actually going to be here is a whole separate discussion, and I'm still, I'll go on a limb and I'll say, I still don't think he's going to be here week one. I think the Falcons are going to find a way to trade him or do something with it. I don't think they're going to cut him, but I think they're going to find somebody to take him off their hands here. Maybe not. We'll see. I mean, they sound like they could be committed to him and keep him here and all this, that, and the other. But normally in most years, I'd tell you, Deion Jones is going to be right there at the very top, right? But if you're looking for a guy who replaces that production of the Devondre Campbells and the Foyers over the last few years, I think Rashaan Evans has a chance to fit that bill. And I think with Dean Pease, and look, Pease is really high on him, right? We just talked about the comments that he made. He didn't understand why it was, didn't get his fifth-year option and this, that, and the other. I think that Evans has a chance. Evans is a first-round pick who's trying to play for his next big contract in the NFL too, right? So he wants to do well, and hopefully, when we talk about all this money, right, all this famous cap space that the Falcons are going to have next year, if you can get Rashaan Evans to have a big season and sign him to where he's a long-term answer on this defense, that's only good for, the Falcons moving forward. So I don't know many things, and I haven't figured out a lot of stuff about what this team is or is not going to be. I think we're going to be good at cornerback. I think we're going to shut a lot of teams down with our defensive backs and even our safeties. I think that we'll be okay at quarterback. We'll get enough quarterback play. I hope we can protect our quarterback. I like the emphasis and the focus on the running game. We got to sort out our wide receiver positions. I like what we have at tight end as well. But I'm going to make a proclamation that Rashaan Evans is going to lead this team in tackles, and he's going to have one of those Foye, Devondre Campbell types of years for the Falcons. All right, we thank you so much for making Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery your first listen every day. Make A to Z with Mark Zinno your second listen every day. Mark's back talking all things Atlanta sports. Check out his podcast, free and available at Locked On Sports Atlanta on our YouTube page and on your favorite podcast platforms. You can download us there, Spotify, Odyssey. Leave us a 5-star review, and then follow me on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday to preview Falcons and Jets. This has been Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked On Sports Atlanta.